Nice to see you. Sandy Roberts is in Tennessee. Cha Roberts is in New York. Mary in Washington State. Okay, this is just awesome. So we're glad you're here. We're ready to go live on the live stream. I'm going to push the record button, and here we go. Welcome everybody to tonight's call. We are so glad that you're here. We do these calls every Tuesday night. Every Tuesday. In fact, you could mark your calendar. And Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern, we have a call. And this call has been life-changing. I'm not exaggerating. It has been life-changing for me and thousands of other people. So if you're here tonight for the very first time, you are in for a treat. If you're here because you're passionate about health and wellness, maybe your health has fallen off track a little bit, and you're here because you want to get it on track, you're in the right place. Maybe you're in ship shape. I mean, maybe you've never felt better. Our message in these calls also resonate with people, not just people who are sick, but people who prioritize their health, people who are all about longevity and preventative wellness. We have lots of doctors and nurses and medical professionals of all sorts on tonight's call. I'm going to give you a quick salute and thank you. All the medical professionals that have contributed to making these calls what they are, to putting eyes on this movement. We just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. In fact, do me a favor. If you are a medical professional, please put medical in the chat. I don't care whether you're a nurse or a doctor or a surgeon or any kind of medical professional. If you're in the medical community and you're here supporting us, I know we have dietitians, diabetes educators, nutritionists, etc. Put medical in the chat so we can all just give you a salute. Thank you so much. I know many of you are new. If you're new here for the first time, we'll explain what we're going to do here in just a moment. And if you're a repeater and come to these calls every week, we're grateful to have you. My name is Trent. I will be hosting the call tonight. I live in Utah, and I'm just honored and privileged to be here. Maybe to get started, I have a couple of very exciting guests tonight. Maybe to get started, I'll just set the table on why we do these calls. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the U.S. for a second because I know many of you are in the U.S., but I see in the chat we have people from Mexico, people from Canada, people from the other side of the world in the Middle East even, okay? People from India are tuning into this call either on Zoom or through Facebook or YouTube. We have people all over, and the numbers I'm about to share with you are for the United States. But the truth is, they're just as bad everywhere else. In fact, they're worse in other parts of the world than they are in the US. So just go with me here. The reason why we do these calls is because in the United States, we have 270 million American adults. And of those 270 million, there are more than 47 million American adults on statin drugs. These drugs are cholesterol-lowering drugs, drugs like Lipitor and Crestor, for example. There's another 60 to 90 million just in this country alone, 60 to 90 million people on high blood pressure medications, drugs like lisinopril, for example. There's another 30 plus million, and maybe substantially more, I'm being conservative here, on blood sugar medications, drugs like metformin. Now, just do me a favor. I don't care if it's you or if it's somebody else in your household. If there's anybody in your household or in your family, maybe they're not in your household, but they're in your family, that is on one or more of these medications, will you just write the word meds in the chat? Okay, I just want people to see how prevalent this is. If you've ever been on these meds or if you have somebody in your family who is, okay? Another medication that's very popular is Ozempic. These GLP-1 drugs are everywhere now. And there's at least 30 million Americans now on Ozempic and other GLP-1s. Again, if any of this is relevant to your family, just put a meds in the chat, okay? There's another 30 to 40 million now on anti-anxiety and depression medications, SSRIs. And sadly, the people that are on these drugs, the age of those people is getting younger and younger. Teenagers are starting to dominate this medication category. Now, I've just named 5 medication groups, and we're just getting started. I mean, we could name 20 more, right? But if we just look at those numbers, okay? Now, there's 270 million American adults. You following me here? Now, some people, there's some overlap for sure because there are some people on more than one of these medications. But if we were to look at those numbers, out of 270 million American adults, there's another 200 million, or there's about 200 million or so on medications daily. What do you think about that? Can you imagine if you had a business and 200 plus million Americans were monthly customers of your business? I mean, that's what it feels like to be a pharmaceutical company right now. And the crazy thing is all of these conditions, I shouldn't say all, but a good number of people with these conditions, it's preventable for them, completely preventable, right? So we have these calls because we're passionate about this group of people and we're passionate about those that aren't on drugs. So again, people that want to get their health on track love these calls, and people that are already into fitness, health, wellness, longevity, etc., are very passionate about these calls. If you're one of those people, you're in the right place tonight. Now, the reason why we're all getting sick and why we have so many people turning to pharmaceutical drugs, okay, the reason why is really twofold. I got to go quick here. So the first reason is a reason called insulin resistance. Now, maybe you're not familiar with that term yet. You will be in the coming years. We now know that insulin resistance is the root cause of problems like obesity, fatty liver, diabetes. Migraine headaches are often caused by insulin resistance. Alzheimer's, dementia, heart disease is the number one killer in the world, and insulin resistance is driving that. PCOS, the number one cause of infertility. And what's the number one driver of it? Insulin resistance, right? So this is the big bad monster. I mean, if I was going to draw on this, which I seemingly can't right now, this would be monster number one, is insulin resistance, okay? So this would be monster number one. Now, monster number two would be the problem of a leaky gut, or we call it dysbiosis, okay? Dysbiosis is a big, big problem. When you have a damaged gut, everything in your body starts to go wrong. Your hormones go wrong. Your skin goes wrong. Your metabolic health goes wrong. Your mental health goes wrong. Everything goes wrong when your gut is wrong. Okay. Now, the reason why we have so much insulin resistance and so much leaky gut or dysbiosis is because of processed food. When food processors started to process food, we all started getting sick. And these calls, the call you're about to hear tonight, is about how to get unsick, because it really isn't that complicated. And there are thousands of us now who have found the path, found the system, found the way to completely take control of metabolic health, to fix big bad problems like insulin resistance and dysbiosis or leaky gut. Now, I made this cute little kind of corny, maybe more than just kind of corny. I made this corny picture using AI today, but this is kind of what it's like, okay? You've got a two-headed monster. You've got insulin resistance and you've got leaky gut. And I know this is a little corny, but if you look at that fellow with the insulin resistance, he's got the fatty liver, he's got the belly fat, he's got the neuropathy pain shooting down his feet, he's got the skin tags, the darker pigmentation around his collar. And does he look very happy? No, that's because the more insulin resistance you have, the less good you feel about your body and life, right? We are fighting against this, not using pharmaceuticals, but using two nutraceuticals. One is called Balance, that's the shield, and one is called Unimate, that's the sword, okay? This Balance and Unimate combo is the single best, most natural, simple, easy, replicable, proven, guaranteed way that I'm aware of to solve these problems, okay? And tonight, you're going to get a full dose of exactly how it works, how to dial it in for you, and you're going to hear some stories of some regular folks who just a few months or some time ago, I don't know exactly because these are new guests to me, they're strangers to me. You're going to hear from some people that were sitting exactly where you were sitting not long ago. And so I want to encourage you as you listen to these stories to lean in, okay? I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic by nature. I tend to be skeptical of most everything I hear. You know, I sit and I shake my head almost like this, whether I do it physically or just mentally, right? I want to just encourage you to lean in, okay? Focus. Believe for a second, because everything we're about to show you, everything, okay, we're going to back it up with a lot of science and a lot of proof, and it's going to make sense. And you're going to want to try it. What if you were invited tonight to this call for a reason? What if this could be a moment that changed your life forever as it's changed the people that were on this call? And so I think I'm hyping it up enough. I hope it's not over the top. I don't want to turn anybody off with too much drooling over this, but this has changed my life. I'm passionate about it. And I hope that it will change your life or somebody in your family. So, all right, with all that wind up, let's get to our first guest. Now, I am really, really excited. This is my first proper meeting with Kayla McGrath. Now, Kayla has Misty Zimmerman's name below her, but this is indeed Kayla McGrath. Am I saying that right, Kayla?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you have Misty Zimmerman's name there because Misty is your mom, as I take it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we've heard Misty's story before on these calls. And maybe to begin, tell us who is Kayla McGrath and where were you at with your health prior to starting this protocol?
Well, I am Kayla McGrath, 34 years old, living in Fredericktown, Ohio. I am actually a preschool teacher full time. And way before this system, oh, I was a mess. I now have four little boys, and this system has completely changed my life. Napping any chance I could get. I had a lot of anxiety and depression before this system came along. I was, like I said, constantly snacking, eating, never feeling full. I actually tried, Weight Watchers in the past and never had any real success with the Weight Watchers. It was a hard plan to consistently follow and would constantly fall off the wagon. I snored a lot when I was, would sleep, and my husband swears now that he never hears me. So now I am living my best life and feel like I'm 18 years old again and full of energy, and I can keep up with these kids of mine, all boys, and I'm loving it. It's a simple, simple protocol, and you couldn't ask for anything better.
Okay, Kayla, I'm loving this. I'm going to quickly flash a picture of you from before, and
Yes.
maybe just tell us what life was like at the time of this picture. I don't. Just one second here. Let me share my cell phone because I have this on my phone. Uh, Kayla has texted me this picture and given me permission to share it. But this is you prior to starting the protocol, right?
Yes. Yep, that's me.
Okay, and you kind of shared the sleeping problems, the fatigue problems, right? This is you before. And about how long have you been on the protocol now?
Well, I always told my mom after I was done having kids, I was game on. So I've been on it consistently hardcore for about a year now.
About a year.
About a year.
Okay, and this picture, which you look dramatically different here,
Yes.
um, when was this taken? About how long after? Do you know?
That was actually Valentine's Day.
Okay, so this was 6-ish months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. So
Yes.
maybe halfway-ish on the protocol.
Yes.
Okay. And is this like a super recent photo?
That was our recent trip to Tennessee. Gosh, maybe like a month ago.
So I have to say, Kayla, when I was looking at these photos, I saw something. And what I really saw is, to me, you look so much younger here.
Yes.
You
Thank you.
know, so much younger, right? I think a lot of people see this protocol, and I know that weight loss is sexy in a lot of people's minds. That's what a lot of people want. But this really isn't a weight loss protocol, although lots of people do lose weight on the protocol. This isn't about losing 10 pounds. This is about becoming 10 years younger metabolically.
Mhm.
And that's what you look like you did. Um, so this is just awesome. Kayla, is there anything that maybe just give us a 20-second overview of what does a typical day in your life look like on the protocol? What do you start your day with? How do the days go? Um, in terms of what you eat and how you use the protocol.
Well, I definitely have been, watching more of what I eat nowadays. I've cut out processed foods. I'm more strict with what I'm actually putting into my body. I'm actually sipping on my teas. Gosh, two or three a day. I'm obsessed with these things. Um, I wake up. get my kids ready, and I try to like typically fast from dinner the night before until about 1 o'clock p.m. the next day. And I never thought I would be able to do it. And it's super, super easy. I'll start with, as much protein as I can get and a vegetable. But I mean, honestly, you can still, the reason I love this system is because you don't have to stop enjoying the things that you did at one time. You just have to do it in moderation and make sure you take your balance before.
Okay, I love that you said that because my whole life I have been trying, I was on a yo-yo diet
Yeah.
of some kind or another pretty much my whole life. I mean, I'm that guy that if I am not on a diet, I was losing weight. Or sorry, if I was not on a diet, I was gaining weight, right? Until this. And I feel like this has been very, very effortless for me. Now, I've tried to be more responsible and have more dietary discipline, but I've eventually failed every single time. And
Right.
this for me is like willpower in a packet, which is kind of how you just described it, that you turn to this instead of turning to the alternative. And so that's just awesome. Kayla, thanks so much for telling your story. I know that there's 400, almost 500 perfect strangers here. And so to hear from a busy mother of four, and to see that before and after picture is just awesome. Anything you want to say as we move on to anybody that's maybe watching this that's skeptical or has never tried it before?
Do it.
All
Do
right.
it. I don't know why people can be so hesitant when, there's all these amazing testimonies and people that are living proof of what this can do. Because for me, that's giving me my life back.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kayla
Yeah.
McGrath. It is so awesome to have you.
Mm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Isn't that just awesome? Okay, so we have another story coming up that's from a different person that is really, really exciting. And in fact, she has prepared 10 years of blood work history, measuring it meticulously for 10 years. And it actually went back 20 years, but I told her that 20 years might be overkill, right? So she's given us 10 years of blood work we're about to look at. And wait until you see what happened once she started the protocol. I can't wait to show you. It's coming soon. Before we do that, let's talk real fast about why we're all getting sick. I just want to talk momentarily about why we're all getting sick and what we might consider doing about it. Okay. So this is for the new people who maybe don't understand why their struggle with their health has been so difficult. All right. And I hope to enlighten you here. So, when you look at your body, if you have skin tags around your neck, you have a very serious degree of insulin resistance. That is not an early sign, that is a late sign of insulin resistance. If you have this darker colored skin around your neck or your collar, if you have it in your armpits, if you have it between your legs and your groin area, if you have it on your elbows and your knuckles, that darker pigmentation is called acanthosis nigricans, and that is a very late sign of insulin resistance. Now, the number one sign and indicator of insulin resistance in people is a protruding belly. Now, it can be a big belly or a little belly. Did you know that more than 50% of Chinese adults in China? Now, when you think of Chinese adults in China, do you think of heavy people or lean people? I think of lean people. But more than 50% of Chinese adults are insulin resistant, in fact, pre diabetic. And many Chinese adults have a small protruding belly, and that's because they have a lower personal fat threshold that is characterized by more visceral fat. All right. So let's talk about two types of fat real fast. There's subcutaneous fat. If you reach down and you grab your love handle right now, you can shake and jiggle your subcutaneous fat. The subcutaneous fat is where the body is meant to store excess calories. That is your reserve tank. I mean, if you were to stop eating for the next 30 days, you would be living on your subcutaneous fat, okay? But the visceral fat, this is not the ideal storage place. The visceral fat is the fat that surrounds the organs. It is beneath the skin, right? And visceral fat is the number one risk factor for insulin resistance, pre-diabetes. Oops, sorry, my screen's a little jumpy, and type 2 diabetes. Now, those are some of the things, the big things that you can see. Let's look at some of the little things that you cannot see, like cravings for sugary, salty food. Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you have a salt tooth? Maybe you feel constantly hungry. Maybe there's a general inability to lose weight or keep weight off when you do lose it. Maybe you struggle with migraine headaches. Maybe you have high blood pressure. Maybe you feel very tired after meals. Maybe you have frequent urination. There are lots and lots of other problems like erectile dysfunction, like PCOS for women, anxiety, depression, etc. Now, many of us are getting these problems. In fact, the CDC says that at least 1 out of 3 American adults are now fully pre-diabetic, and that's a conservative number. It's probably more than that. We might be just as bad as China. Maybe we're 50% now. The big problem is that 9 out of 10 of the people who have this problem do not know that they have it. And so what are they doing? They're living frustrated, exhausted, discouraged lives of desperation as they try one thing after another, and feel stuck and broke, or broken, I should say. Now, the good news, because this call is all about good news, not bad news, is that if we understand the root cause of the problem and we kill the problem, we can often kill all these symptoms that we're dealing with, right? So the reason why we're all getting so sick is because of processed food. Too much, too often. Okay, so too much in quantity, too often in terms of frequency. See, in nature, this is what rice looks like. Now, we eat rice like this, or brown rice even, right? But wild rice looks like this over here. Every grain of rice has something around it called the bran. That's the fiber part of the plant. Food makers take off the fiber part and they give us the white part. And the white part is the cake part of the plant. It is the sugar. Why are 50% of Chinese adults pre-diabetic? Because they have a bowl of sugar, a bowl of cake, a bowl of white rice, glucose every day. It hits their bloodstream like a piece of candy would. And this is why they're getting sick and why we're getting sick here as well. This is what wheat looks like in nature. Food makers take out all the good stuff and they give us the cake. Every sugar, every carbohydrate in nature is meant to come packaged in fiber. An apple is sugar and water mostly that has been packaged in fiber. When you remove the sugar and water, when you remove the fiber, you're left with a glass of sugar water. Ask anybody that measures their blood sugar what happens when they drink apple juice. It spikes up. They're hungry. Their blood sugar is out of control. Their appetite is out of control. Everything is haywire. Well, I'm here to tell you that the modern diet is all sugar water. This white bread is sugar water. Your pasta is sugar water. Your cereal is sugar water. Your rice is sugar water. Okay? Even sugar itself in nature is meant to come packaged in fiber. What happens when you take fiber out of the food supply on a population basis, which is what they do when they process food, is you lose control of your health. Okay? This is the CDC's website, health benefits of fiber. If you have diabetes or prediabetes, and I might add insulin resistance, fiber is your friend because it helps with blood sugar control and weight management. It can also lower your risk of heart disease and some cancers. Well, what's the number one cause of death in the world? Heart disease. What's the number 2 cause? Cancer. So why are we taking fiber out of everything? Fiber is specifically what controls your blood sugar and your insulin. It protects your heart. It controls the triglycerides and the cholesterol, as you're about to see in some very well-documented blood work from some people here on the call. It helps you maintain your digestive health. This is the key to a healthy gut, is fiber. Now, one of the reasons why food makers take fiber out is because fiber is the thing that keeps us feeling full. When you remove fiber from food, you remove the satiety mechanism from the food. I mean, no wonder we are eating and overeating. It's because there's nothing in there that's going to trigger the satiety, right? So what happens when you remove fiber on a population basis is you end up with a nation full of sick people. 1 out of 3 pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, 2 out of 3 obese or overweight. Heart disease, the number 1 killer in the world. 1 in 5 have irritable bowel syndrome now. And guess what? When you have IBS, you also get anxiety and depression because of the gut brain connection, right? So, one of the things that we're doing with this protocol is we are bringing the fiber back. And I'll explain it here in just a minute. I want to explain this protocol very carefully because I know many of you have not started yet and are still a little bit in the dark on how we do it. So, we'll get to that in just a moment. But I want to give you lots of proof. So I'm going to give you some proof before and some proof after I explain the protocol. I'm going to bring on our next guest now, Jill. And Jill has an incredible story, and I'm going to pull up her blood work to accompany her story. Because she's documented it over the last 20 years. Now, after Jill goes through her story, I'm going to explain step by step how the protocol works, and then we'll give you a barrage of proof that will make you just feel goosebumps. It's so exciting. So let's go ahead. Let me find Jill. And Jill, if you'll go ahead and come off of mute here, I'm going to spotlight you. So, Jill, maybe just to begin, I'll make myself disappear. Maybe just to begin, and Jill, you're still currently on mute. All right, are you with me, Jill? Okay, you're still on mute, so I'm just going to prompt you to unmute real fast. Let me try this once more. There you are. And ask to unmute. Did you see a button there that invites you to unmute? Okay, I think we got you.
Okay.
All right,
Hi,
now
Tran.
Jill. Hi. Okay, so Jill, as I get your slides loaded here, and you've just got a few slides and are going to walk us through your transformation. Who is
Okay.
Jill Bradshaw? Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Jill Bradshaw is a retired chiropractor. I taught at Life University, primarily chiropractic college for 31 years, but I am completely 100% retired as of today. I retired in 2017, and I've been living the retirement life, and I am so glad.
Okay, awesome. Now, what does 158 is not my number mean?
Okay, so I think that I thought really hard about what to say, and 158 is not my number. And if you'll just stay with me, I think you'll see where I get to. But the picture that is with this title, that was me. That was me in 1994. And truthfully, Trent, this is where I think that my story starts. Now, I promise I'm not going to talk about 32 years. I promise. But at the time that this picture was taken, I was 256 pounds. I wore a size 22, and I thought that I was happy. I had the husband that I wanted, I had the job that I wanted, I had the house that I wanted, I had the dog that I wanted, I had everything but the picket fence. But I thought that I was happy. But in 1995, he died. And when he died, I crashed. And I just want to stop just for a second and tell anyone that's going through this, whether it's been 10 weeks or 10 years or 31 years, I am so sorry for your loss. And the only reason I'm being a little bit flippant about it is because I'm trying to control tears. But know that my sympathy goes to you, and I am so sorry for your loss. All right, so I started losing weight, depression, crying, loss of appetite, whatever you want to call it. I was losing weight. And so much so that people started complimenting me on, how I was looking, and I didn't really know what they were talking about because I didn't know I was losing weight. I even had a therapist tell me that I should consider John's death to be the best diet that I had ever been on. And I was so horrified that he said that to me that I sat there in silence for a long time. And when I finally spoke, I finally said, I'd rather be fat. And I got up and left and never went back. But I had a friend that came up to me at work one day, and she pulled out the side of my pants and she says, Jill, 3 people could live in those pants with you. You need to go shopping. And so I was still wearing a size 22. So I went to TJ Maxx that night and I took a size from every number from 22 down. I just took every into the dressing room and I found out that I went down to a size 12. So for me, I went from a size 22 to a size 12 in one day. I know that's not what happened, but that's in my mind what happened. And I say all that because I want people to understand that not all weight loss is healthy. It's just not. It's for various reasons. It's sometimes not sustainable. It just is not all healthy just because you lose weight. So anyway, a couple years I'm getting on with it and stuff, and moving on with my life as best I can. But I had a friend, and her name is Judy. And Judy may disown me after tonight, but she was very persistent about the protocol. In fact, she was so persistent that I was just kind of getting tired of it. As she described the protocol to me, it sounded like 2 iced teas and a tablespoon of Metamucil. That's what it sounded like. And so I was more on how am I going to get Judy off of my back about this. So I bought the stuff, but I didn't start it right away. And then I decided that what I would do is that I had blood work twice a year. So I had the blood work in May, and I would start the protocol June 1st, and then my next blood work was scheduled for November. All right, so I started June 1st, like I thought I would. But then we had a death in the family, and I want to tell you that it all fell apart for me. I mean, I was trying to do the protocol, but sometimes I was driving back and forth to North Carolina, and sometimes I would go off and forget the stuff, and I would forget, or I would, and I heard someone say one time, I don't know how somebody could forget this. And I wouldn't now, but at that time I did. I just had so much going on. So it gets closer and closer to, November, and I really haven't lost any weight. But I also knew that I hadn't been consistent with it too. And so I was not very hopeful for the November blood draw. But I was not consistent, and so I just didn't have a lot of hope. Well, I went for the blood draw, and again, not really hopeful. And the doctor walks into the room and she says, "What have you been doing?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she says, "Your numbers." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Your triglycerides went from 197 to 95. And I'm like, "Really?" And my A1C, which I was happy in May with 7.1, I was happy with that. But my A1C went from 7.1 to 6.6. Wonder what it would have looked like if you had tried. And that sentence, that question, just prompted me to go, well, I'm going to do it. And so I said, so what if I do try? What if I, put every effort into this protocol and I give it all I've got? What will happen? And so she made a promise to me that if I maintained the 6.6 for another 6 months, she would take me off of all diabetic medicine. So I started in December. I actually started the next day, but I started in December and I stuck to the program. I was consistent. I did the protocol. I went to every meeting. And as I went to the meetings and I learned so much about metabolism, and one day, Trent, you said, if I'm going to eat twice in one day, I take 2 ballots. And I thought, you can change it. It was like, I changed this to fit what I do. And so, it just sort of developed over a little bit of time that I could fit this protocol to fit my life.
Now, Jill, I'm going to
And
interrupt for
so,
just a second. So I'm let me know as you want me to advance these slides because I'm at the weight slide now that shows your weight loss here. And then also
Uh,
when you say meetings, do you mean just
well,
coming to these weekly calls?
don't give away the surprise.
Okay, I won't give away the
Okay,
surprise.
uh, okay, so I'm ready for the June blood draw. Okay, I was supposed to go in May, but I couldn't, so I went in June. And the June visit, I went for the blood draw. Well, I already knew that I had changed, instead of Judy had asked me what was my goal weight wise, and I said 158 because that was the number that I had gotten to back in 1995. And so I thought, well, I'll just use that number again. So I gave her the number 158. Well, I passed 158 the first week in May. And so I'm like, I'm so excited for the June blood draw. I have never been so excited to go to a doctor's office, but I was so excited because I knew that I was way below 158. And so blood draw is in June, second week in June. I visit the doctor and she walks in and she says, "What are you doing?" Well, apparently that meant that she didn't remember the last visit. And I said, well, I have lived the last 6 months for this meeting today. I said, this has been my goal is to meet with you today. And she's like, really? So I knew she didn't remember our conversation. And I said, you promised that if I maintained a 6.6, you would take me off of diabetic medications. So thankfully, she had written it in the notes, thankfully. And so she says, okay, well, let's look at it. But she sounded very doubtful. So she looks at the notes and she says, well, okay, your A1C has gone from 6.6 to 5.8. And my weight was down to 152. And she looked and saw that there was nothing that she could really debate about it. I mean, we talk about these numbers, the A1C and the weight, because everybody knows about them, everybody gets excited about them. But truthfully, I went back 10 years and my bilirubin is better than it was 10 years ago. And so I just want so much to sort of shout from the rooftop, this is not a diet. This is a metabolic reset. And you hear people say it, but I don't hear everybody get that. And so as you're showing the charts, this one is the A1C. So I wrote, I'm looking at the chart too. So you see it 10 years ago, it was 8.0. And then there was a year that I don't know where that number went, but it rode right in the 8.2, 7.5. I tried a little bit harder in the 2023, 2024 timeframe. You'll also see the weight went down. And but it goes back up. And I looked at correlation to when these weight things go up, go down, and they increased the medicine, or they increased the dosage, or they added another one. And then it would go down, and then it would go back up, and then it would go down. But in June 1st, 2025 is when I started this protocol. And so on all of these things, you see that between 2025 and 2026, the line just goes down. And I thought that maybe there would be one person. I like numbers. I like numbers. I like to see facts. For somebody to sit and say, well, I just feel better. I appreciate that. I really do. Great testimonies, but give me some facts, give me some numbers. And so when I saw the numbers, I was just like, I asked to be on this meeting. I asked to be on this meeting because if I could just change one person's mind. And so, Trent, if you'll go to the very last slide. So you see up in the boxes, and I'm looking at the chart too, you see that, like, for instance, the A1C from 8.0 to 5.8. If you're just subtracting those numbers, that's a 2.2. It's not a percentage, it's a decrease of 2.2. But folks, that's a 27% decrease in my A1C. If you look at body mass index, the highest was a 31 right at the very beginning of 10 years ago. I'm down now to 24. That's number wise, if you're looking at the numbers, that's a 7.29 decrease, but that's a 23.3 percentage decrease. And if you look at the weight, she started it back 10 years ago was 199. If you notice, there was one point where I increased from there up to 211, but 199 down to 152 is 46 pounds, but that's a 23.4% decrease. And I'm just so excited about it. I just, if I could just get one person to hear, the changes that can occur. If I had tracked out Billy Rubin, you would be impressed.
I love
So
it,
that's
Jill.
my story. And I don't know if I kept it in the time limit, but I just wanted you to know, and I wanted you to see the numbers and see the chart. It goes across, and then it goes down.
What I love about it, Jill, is that you had really done everything the doctors threw at you, every medication, everything that you could do, and it wouldn't move. It came to a point where they tried different medications and it just wouldn't move. And that this has moved the needle for you is so great. I mean, that's such great news for you and for everybody that needs some hope. So thank you, Jill, for being on our call. Your story was awesome. Thanks for documenting. I mean, 10 years of documentation. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. So proud of you, Jill. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor. Okay, so this is so cool, right? I mean, 20 plus years with type 2 diabetes on all kinds of medication. And now to go back to her doctor with a 5.8 A1C is just so incredible. We're so happy for you, Jill, and happy for you, Kayla. So, all right, let's talk real fast about the protocol. We want to wrap up this call and certainly want anybody that's new to understand exactly what we are doing. Okay. So one of the ways to improve our health is to focus on insulin sensitivity. What is insulin sensitivity? It's the opposite of insulin resistance. And we do this with a combination of fiber and fasting. Let me tell you what I mean. Whenever we're not eating, when we're fasting, we force our insulin levels down. Okay. Now, when insulin's low, remember this. When insulin's low, the fat's got to go. When insulin's low, the fat's got to go. If you have excess body fat, and I know some of you are not looking to lose weight, don't worry. This won't lose any weight you don't want to lose, right? But if you're trying to lose weight, when we can bring insulin down, the body becomes very effective at burning fat. Okay. Insulin, high insulin, is like throwing water all over dry wood, right? You wetten the wood gets wet and it's not as flammable. But when we keep it dry, when we keep the insulin low, we can burn fat very effectively. Now, if in a perfect world, we had a dedicated time each day where we were just not eating, we were taking a break from food, that would force insulin to come down and we would be eating our love handles. Let's say, if this is breakfast and this is lunch and this is dinner. Well, if we're fasting through breakfast, I mean, we are eating our love handles for breakfast, right? Our weight's going down. We're saving money. When you're fasting, you're saving money, right? I mean, this is the other great thing is it's free. There's nothing freer than fasting, right? And then when it comes time to have meals, if we can focus on the right types of fiber, amazing things happen. Okay. Now I've got a blend of fiber here that I'm just going to demonstrate. Okay. Now you could get fiber from the produce section at your grocery store. You could get a big garden salad. You could eat more plants, more fruits, more seeds, more herbs, more veggies, right? And if you were to have the right types of fiber and some good diversity of plants before every meal, that fiber would help control your blood sugar, control your insulin, control cholesterol and triglycerides and all these other things, right? It also is very satiating. It would fill you up. So that instead of Trent eating, a whole box of pizza, maybe he has a slice of pizza and then he's done, right? So there is a blend of fiber This is actually a US company that makes what's called a nutraceutical. And this blend of plant fiber is going to change the world. In the coming years, you will see this at donut shops, at coffee shops, at restaurants. You'll see your Uncle Eddie at Thanksgiving dinner mixing this up in the corner and having it before his mashed potatoes. Because when you take these fiber packets and you mix them with water, a very interesting thing happens. All right. It creates a gel. Now, it's not jelly at first, it's very thin at first. It is actually just about the consistency of orange juice. But as it thickens, as it sits rather, it starts to thicken and even expand. So I'm going to pour this. I just made a little bit of a mess. So as it sits here in your stomach, this is your stomach, it's going to start to thicken and expand. And I'm going to bring you back to that in just a moment after I clean up a little spill here. I'm doing it with my shirt, which is crude, but we're live here and the show must go on, right? So, okay, we've got this. It's now sitting in our stomach and it's thickening, right? So it is not realistic for me to have a garden salad before every meal. It's expensive. It's inconvenient. What if I'm in my car? What if I'm at an airport? What if I'm being fed by somebody else? Am I going to demand a salad before whatever they're going to feed me? Of course not, right? I can't have a garden salad in my back pocket 24/7, but I can have these little fiber packets in my back pocket 24/7, right? And so every day, what I do is really two things. And most of us on this call, most of you I know are living this protocol. I'm going to call on you in just a second, audience. But we have fiber before our meals to control the blood sugar and insulin and help us burn more fat. And we have something called Unimate whenever we're not eating. Okay, now I've got my Unimate right here. And when you sip the Unimate, I mean, for me, it makes me forget about food. It turns off food noise. It naturally raises GLP-1. Now, this combination is actually it is known as a nutraceutical. Okay, a nutraceutical. So it is in the physician's desk reference. There are more than 30 clinical studies on it. It is patented. It is safe and natural. It's not like the prescription drugs that just mask symptoms and don't actually attack the root problem, right? It is also guaranteed to work for anybody that uses it. If you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. And you can measure that just by checking your blood work, just like Jill did, right? When you check your blood work, you will be able to see it. If you're not checking your blood work, you can see it in the way your clothes fit, in the way you feel, in the way, in the number on the scale often, it will be reflected, right? Now, my favorite thing about it is it's cost neutral. We'll get to that in a moment. And this is now available in more than 50 different countries. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You might even be looking on Amazon or Google. How can you get this? Well, let me just save you the chase. When you try to buy it direct from the manufacturer or through Amazon, it is expensive. It is about $235 plus tax, plus shipping. It's about $250 all in, and it is worth every single penny. But you, because you're on this call, you will never, ever, ever pay the price that other people pay when they go direct to the manufacturer or through Amazon. You will never, ever pay that price, okay? So I'll explain that in just a moment. But the yellow one, this is what you sip. Let's put sip when fasting. And the orange one you're going to have before eating. And I'm about ready. Let me make sure I've got this mixed up properly here. But I'm about ready to demonstrate what happens with the orange one, okay, whenever you have it before your meals, okay? So the yellow one is, I'm just stirring this up here. The yellow one you have whenever you're not eating, and the orange one just before eating. You with me on that? Okay, so you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We want to have the orange one at least before our biggest meal each day, if not before every meal. The cost or the money that you save, remember I said I love that it's cost neutral. The money that you save when you skip a meal and skip snacks and replace them with the yellow one, the Unimate, you're going to save $5 to $10 a day, right? I mean, what does a meal cost? I can't get a meal at McDonald's for that much money, right? We're going to save $5 to $10 a day, and we're going to use that to cover the cost of the protocol. And so the discounted price that you would get for attending this call, you can just reach out to whoever invited you to this call and say, hey, can you send me the link? And they will be able to send you a discount link that will lock in lifetime discount pricing. You will never, ever pay the price that everybody else pays. Also, you will get your own discount link that you can send to others and share the health. So that's a benefit of coming to this call and ordering the protocol. You not only get the lifetime discount pricing, but you get a link you can share with others. You get access to our Facebook group that has, I think, 7,000 or 8,000 of us now in there that are using this protocol. There's tens of thousands around the world, but we have 7,000 or 8,000 now in our private group. You'll have our mobile app that will coach you through the whole thing. We'll coach you through the whole thing. We have calls like this every week where we usually have medical professionals and people helping coach you through it. But let me just tell you, this flat out works, okay? I went on this protocol. That's a picture of my dad. My dad is now dead. My dad was insulin resistant, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic. If my dad would have only known, in fact, we started doing these calls. Mostly I was inspired by my dad. Who do you know? Who do you love? That maybe this could save. It was too late for my dad, but maybe you have a dad or a mom or somebody that needs this, right? This protocol was life-changing for me. It works for women. It works for men. You know, I've got lots of pictures here. Before we go through my pictures, I said I'd get the audience involved, and I better do it because we're almost out of time. Do me a favor. If you or somebody that you love has been on this protocol, whether you've been on it for a week or a month or a year or longer, would you put a note in the chat? I would just love to read a few of these as we wrap up the call. Would you put a note in the chat about what it did for you and your family? I'm going to read a few of these. We won't read them all, but let me read. Let's see here. I'll probably read a dozen or so. So Kimberly Sanders says, my dad needs this so bad. Kimberly, hey, invite him to one of these calls or see what you can do to get him on the protocol. The best thing about it for your dad is that if he uses it and it's just consistent, when he does his next blood work, I mean, you heard Jill, right? Her doctor said, what are you doing? What are you doing? If your doctor is skeptical, the doctor can just look it up in the physician's desk reference. They can look it up and they will be able to see exactly what it does. They'll be able to see all the medical literature behind it. Now, I forgot, I've got my little example here. This is the fiber. It has now been sitting and gelling, and this happens in your stomach. And this is a vanilla wafer. This represents the processed food epidemic. Now, I'm a big fan of vanilla wafers, but this is a vanilla wafer, sugar, fat, carbohydrate, and fat mixed together. This will send your blood sugar through the roof. I hate to say it because I love vanilla wafers, but this is part of the problem, right? It's too much food that's like this. But when we have fiber first, the fiber creates a gel around vanilla wafer. This gel slows the digestion of the, you can tell I'm being careful because I don't want to make a further mess, but that gel will actually slow the digestion of the wafer. It prevents the blood sugar from spiking and the insulin from spiking the way it otherwise would, right? It slows that digestion and it works better than anything I have found on planet Earth. This specific blend of fiber is just fantastic. It does a lot more than that. It will block some of the fat absorption. It is just, it helps control the cholesterol and the triglycerides. So it is wonderful. Lick my fingers here. Sorry, that's rude and shouldn't do that, but I can't have this on my fingers as I try to use my iPad. So forgive me. All right. Let me read some of these. Keith Bird, 70 and a half, after 70 years old, after 4 months, I was taken off lisinopril, taken off my thyroid meds, down 30 pounds, and down from a 33 to a 29 waist. My shirt went from a large to a medium. My eyesight has improved. My testosterone in February is 567 without any further injections. Amazing. Thank you so much, Keith. Kimberly Hand says, my granddaughter needs this. All right. Shy Whiting says she's been using it for a year. Jennifer Brown says, my A1C went from a 5.7 to a 5.3 in just 2 months. No more migraines. They used to be bad. I thought I was having a stroke. No more cravings. Lost 10% of my body fat. More energy than when I was in my 20s. Tina Noble. Holy cow, Tina. We need to have you on one of these calls. Tina says she dropped her A1C from an 11.5 to a 5.2 in 8 months. That is incredible, Tina. We've got a few more. Kendra says, I just started this week. All right, Kendra, great to hear it. Janet Machi, sorry, Janet, says she's lost 20 pounds so far. Ralph Falconbury, 50.2 pounds gone. A1C was a 7.9, now it's a 5.4. 4XL clothing, now down to an XL. IBS and neuropathy are gone. I used to have 11 meals a day, and now I only have 2. Monique Palmer, I lost 73 pounds in 9 months. Reversed my type 2 diabetes. My A1C was above 17 and is now between a 4.8 and a 5.1. Fatty liver, GERD, migraines, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, neuropathy, joint pain, brain fog are all gone. I have so much energy now. We need to get some of you guys on this call. These are amazing stories. Derek Henderson, my mom is off her lipid and blood pressure medication. My dad is off all of his diabetic meds. My wife has reversed her Hashimoto's, and my testosterone levels are up 300%. Just a couple more. Mila says 6 months on this life-saving protocol, 55 pounds down, high blood pressure reversed, depression reversed. Cindy says, I've got incredible energy. Benjamin Bruce says, what's up, Ben, in Australia? My man, best decision I've ever made. Johnny Grandison, I've lost 6 inches in my waist. I'm down over 30 pounds. No longer have to use my CPAP machine from sleep apnea. No issues with Crohn's disease and have plenty of sustained energy. The Metabolic Grandpa, fasting blood sugar went from 834, that is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, to 90 in 107 days. Last one, Diane Weaver, and there's 52 more comments that I don't have time to read. Diane Weaver says, no more inflammation, no more acid reflux, no more leaky gut. Blood pressure is normal. Finally sleeping, lost 40 pounds in 3.5 months. Husband's off his acid reflux meds and off his statins. My mom has reversed her type 2 diabetes and is off statin medications. My mother-in-law off blood pressure medications in 2 months after 20 years on them. No longer need oxygen and off statin meds, no longer pre-diabetic. Both have lost 40 to 50 pounds. Laurie says, I went from a size 16 to a size 8. This is what it's all about. This is why we have these calls. This is why we're trying to spread awareness, right? I mean, just think about that. What if you were supposed to be here for a reason? What if this was the thing that worked after nothing else would, right? After all the things you've tried, all the frustration, setback, discouragement, yo-yoing, what if this was the thing? What if you could have the results that many people in the chat are talking about, or that you heard Jill or Kayla talk about? What if this really worked for you? What else would happen if you got your health in order? I mean, seriously, what else would happen? How would that affect your career or your love life or your self-confidence or your retirement? I mean, how do you want your golden years to look, right? What if you had your health? What else would happen? It's all good stuff. I mean, when we get healthier, there's lots of good stuff that happens downstream of that. And why not? I mean, why not try something that is natural, proven, clinically proven, safe, guaranteed to work, and cost neutral? I mean, when I understood how this protocol worked and I did the math on how I'd be saving money, my waistline would be getting leaner as my wallet gets fatter, I felt almost stupid saying I don't want to try that. I mean, are you in a place where you're willing to try something new? This is that new something, right? And if you'll stick with it and be consistent, like you heard from Jill and Kayla and now 100 other people, it will work for you. Now, if you're having any struggles, for anybody, there might be a person on this call. Jill mentioned that she was not consistent at first, and for 6 months didn't have great results, didn't really use it properly. If that's you, we want to hear from you. It is important. You are important to us. And if you're having a hard time, if you're struggling, reach out. We have these calls every week. We want to help you, and often we have a Q&A, but we don't have time today. Listen, if this, we have to wrap up now, so that was my signal to wrap up because we're on the hour. If you or somebody you love is struggling with your metabolic health, or if you're passionate about longevity, wellness, you want to be part of the solution, if you want to make life better for other people, come to this call next week, invite others to this call, and you can be a part of this movement that's making life better. Thank you all. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, chat. This chat was awesome. You guys were absolutely awesome tonight. I didn't interact with you as much as I normally would and would like to, but I was a little behind schedule. You guys are awesome, and have a great night. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place, same link. We'll see you.